Beautiful, right? But look further. You'll see them. They're a restless bunch in search of beauty. There's the unyielding conquerors that won't take no for an answer. Yep, that's this place. Perfect for those who want a little more. Some people look forward to the destination, while others don't mind a cheeky detour or two in search of a little more.
Welcome back to the Shannon's Adelaide Rally 2023. Seems like just moments ago we were saying goodbye to you, but yes, we are back here once again. It is the legendary Norton Summit. This is run number 2 on this particular route. So this is now stage number 10. They've been to they've been to Cherryville, the Stafford Hill Climb and Cleland in the time since we last saw you, and now yes, ready for Norton Summit number 2. I'm Dan McCarthy, and alongside me once again is my very trusty colleague.
You say that with some reservation. Nick Lenthal here. Good to be back, Dan. We're up for the same again. We're running uphill on Norton Summit from McGill up through Taringi to the Norton Summit Hotel. And this stage has been used many times in previous Adelaide rallies, Targa Adelaide, Classic Adelaide, and it's been run in both directions, but today we're going up twice, same way.
Indeed, yes. Nick has been a long time runner in the Adelaide Rally. He's driven it on many occasions, but this time in the commentary box alongside myself. We spoke about it a bit before. It's a really nice stage, this one, quite a long stage for Adelaide Rally standards, and it certainly gives you a bit of time to sink your teeth into it.
It does. It's I mean, you can see, as you'll see shortly on our live stream, that we're situated on some S's, which are only about 400 metres from the start of the stage, but we're situated on the S's and leading into a left-hand hairpin, which goes up a very steep hill. I reckon 100 metres after they leave that hairpin, they're probably 30 metres higher than what we are now. So it's a very steep ascent, and it's like that for nearly the entire stage. You're basically just getting as much out of the car as you can, try to hold corner speed where you can. And when you get a little further away from us, about a kilometre or 2 away, you're running uphill through some very slight corners that are linked together, and they're so slight that if you're on it, you can work out a straight line that runs through the lot. And that's going to get you a really good time. Here they come, Dan. They're back with the vengeance.
Yeah, so the Zagami Tour out there first. They're the first tour today. That won't be the case tomorrow, but yeah, Zagami first out there here today. Don't some of these cars look well, some of them, they all do look absolutely fantastic in the Adelaide sunshine. Adelaide turning on the weather, that is for certain. So yeah, Zagami leading the runners today. Tomorrow it'll be the Mercedes cars that lead it. Mercedes are out second here today, so they'll be through soon. But this is the biggest group of the lot, Zagami, this year. A really good group, just under 60 cars, quite remarkable really. And as you can see, there's a lot of McLarens, some Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and everything in between. This is, for me, these are the poster boy cars. You know, when you're a young kid growing up, these are the cars that you had on your bedroom wall.
Yep, that's right. And like you say, every one of them is good. You don't need to pick one because they're all good. Zagami, of course, a multi-franchise dealership in Adelaide and in Melbourne, with a Lamborghini and McLaren under their belt, and a host of
McLaren.
Yeah, did I say McLaren? I think I did. Lamborghini and McLaren, and a host of beautiful used cars out on the frontage on Glenisman Road as well. So this is actually quite a mixed bag of cars, but it does represent their two main brands, Lamborghini and McLaren.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to these V10s are all past. Awesome. Let's listen out of the hairpin. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic sound. And as we see a few McLarens coming through now as well. The Zagami entrance certainly enjoying themselves, bringing these very, very expensive machines to this event. But this is why you buy these supercars. You know, it's all right driving them on the roads day to day, but when you're stuck in traffic, you think, I'm not using this car to my full potential. Well, when you're out there in the Zagami Tour in the Adelaide Rally, you are using the car. Maybe not to its full potential, but certainly a lot more than you would on the normal road. You know, this time yesterday, if you're driving up this road, you'd be doing 60 kilometres an hour, or potentially even less if you're stuck behind a caravan or something like that. But this gives you both lanes, it gives you so much freedom. This is what these cars are about.
That's right. So the next time you see someone sitting in their McLaren and they look a bit bored, it's because they're thinking about this weekend.
Yes.
How long is it until that classic, the Adelaide Rally weekend, so that they can stretch the legs of these Butte supercars. We're actually doing our recce up here one year before the event, and we got stuck behind a vintage car club who were climbing this hill at a very, very slow pace, to a point where a cyclist pulled out and passed them.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
True story. And yes, you know, of course the cyclist actually got the better of it because we couldn't pull out and pass them. But yes, that is a true story. And these guys going much quicker and much to our delight. And you're probably going to get tired of us talking about V10s by the end of this weekend, but they are a fantastic sound. And one thing that Dan and I can agree on, there's not a lot of things we agree on, but the sound of a V10 is music.
Well, I happen to think we agree on quite a bit, motor car related anyway.
That's right.
As you see the McLaren head into the hairpin, and here is the Audi as well, so there's just so many vehicles that you can have a look at. Here's another McLaren, can't quite see which one that is, that looks like a 650 for me. As he heads into the hairpin. It's hard to know which car to look at as the director. Which one do you look at? Do you look at the McLaren, the Lamborghini? Just don't know where to look. There's just supercars everywhere.
And these cars are set off at 4-second intervals, so there's not really much time for us to catch sight of them and chat about them. But just enjoy the passing parade of these beautiful supercars, and the noise they make is a delight.
We really do have, don't we, flat 6s in the Porsches, we've got V8s in the Mercs, and then V10s with the Lamborghinis. We've got the whole plethora of engines, and I see there a blue Ferrari going into the hairpin as well. So there really is something for everyone in this category, and there as well a V12 in the Aston Martin, just to cap it all off.
Now, I'm glad you pointed that out because I missed that one last time. So how does this sound?
We're hearing the Alfa Romeo come towards us actually, so there goes the Alfa Romeo.
Yes, a Giulia QV.
Yes,
and these are a very quick car. For a four-door car that you might tout as your family sedan, they are one very quick car.
I agree with that, that's for certain. There's a Porsche. just so many cars in this class. As we say, the Zagami headquarters located on Glen Osmond Road, not too far away from where we are really. We were certainly closer the previous stage that we were at, but it's not too far from here on Glen Osmond Road, so just at the bottom of the freeway. Yeah, it really is a stone's throw from where we are, and that's one of the new Ferraris I can see just going up the hill.
Very pretty car.
Very, very pretty car. That looks like an F12, is that we can see on the screen at the moment. Cars just keep on coming. After this, as say, we got the Mercedes tour. There's a Mercedes going through the screen now. Yeah, we'll be out in the Mercedes tour, and then closely followed by a glorious McLaren. There's a Spectator here earlier on with a McLaren cap on. He's not there that I can see this time through, but I'm sure we will gather a bit of a crowd once again at the hairpin as we did earlier on today. There's quite a big crowd by the end of the stage, wasn't it? Really good to see so many locals coming down to look at all these expensive cars.
It is, and we spoke earlier on today on the Beaumont stage to some locals, and not only were they kind enough to allow the rally to use their local roads, but they also get to go and sit down in their deck chairs and watch the passing parade of these beautiful cars. And they were delighted. They were thrilled to be back at the Adelaide Rally again, and just being a part of the whole event, the whole gala, if you like. Not just the cars, but the whole event. You know, the Goodger Street party will be on Saturday night. It's changed from, used to be a Friday night affair, but it's changed to Saturday night. Always a good event. Used to love that when I was competing in the event, driving into there and being surrounded by people. And of course, you can book a restaurant, but you may have to book it 12 months ahead because people love it.
There you go. I think they're a bit further around the corner. I don't think we can quite see them because the shades moved around a little bit. So I think there are a few people down at the hairpin. We just can't quite see them from where we are. So cool to see some spectators here once again watching on this lengthy stage, as we alluded to earlier on. It's 5.5 kilometres in length, which is one of the longer ones of the rally. Mount Lofty is longer. That's 7.5 kilometres, and then of course the Cherryville stage, which we've already spoken about, the mammoth 19.4 kilometre stage, or 19.38 kilometres to be precise. And every single one of those meters, from what I hear, is quite something. So they've just come from that Stafford Hill climb and Cleland, the second run through Cleland. This is the penultimate stage of the day. So this is Norton Summit 2, and then they end with Anstey's Hill, which is, as you say, they sort of ran earlier on. It's a slightly shortened version of what they ran earlier.
And it's in the opposite direction.
Yes. Yes.
So this morning was down and this afternoon is up.
And they've lost 160 metres on it as well.
That was to make sure they finish before a road junction so that they don't create too much inconvenience.
And that's one of the great things about this event, is that it's organised so well, and that we don't inconvenience anything like that. You know, we don't want to cause traffic or anything like that. You know, the stages that we're on, they're quiet roads, so we're not inconveniencing many people at all. And it wouldn't be possible without the backing and the support of the South Australian government, and also, you know, without the support of the locals as well, it would not be possible. So we've got to thank
and the
them.
Police. And
the
look,
police force,
the thing that people need to realise, if you're watching the live stream and you live in the Adelaide Hills, you need to know that all of these drivers, each and every one of them, are eternally grateful to allow them to use their roads, to use your roads rather. It is a privilege, we realise that, and they love every second of it.
They certainly do, and we can see the cars now. We've changed from the Zagami Tour to the Mercedes Tour. So if you like your Mercedes, I'm sure you'll find one here that you like. Of course, Mercedes great history in motorsport, most recently in Formula One, of course, winning the World Championship as the manufacturer and the Drivers' Championship as well. Many years on the trot with Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, but still fighting up the pointy end, not quite where I'm sure Toto Wolff would like them to be, at the very front end of the field, but they are still there or thereabouts and can take a victory off Max Verstappen if he has an off day. Let's be honest, it's not that often these days, but occasionally a race victory can be taken from him. You never know, that might be this weekend as they go to Las Vegas. That'll be a fantastic race later on this weekend in the land of Formula One, but we've got plenty of action on the racetrack, on the stage. You can tell I'm generally a circuit racing commentator, can't you?
I can tell. Formula One is your passion. and it shows. But no, you're quite right. And this, as we've alluded to previously, when you're rallying, it's about achieving the fastest time on a stage, and there's 30 of those stages over the next few days. But you're not so much competing with other drivers as you're competing with a stretch of road. Your job is to execute that piece of road so finely, so precisely, that you deliver the best time with the least risk. I mean, sure, there's a risk, and sometimes the quicker you're going, the risk increases. But because of the reconnaissance that you do before the event, because of the specific notes that you write and the clarity of those notes and the way they're delivered by your co-driver, it's that precision and that preparedness that gives you those fast times.
Yeah, it certainly is. You can see how the shade has moved around. I alluded to it with the spectators, but also on the track, the sun now, particularly for the guys that, like the Zagami guys and the Mercedes guys, it was quite a few hours ago that they came through here, and so the sun has certainly changed direction. There's a bit of a breeze now, but it is the hottest time of the day, so thank goodness for that breeze, because it's getting a little warm. We're around the mid-20s here this weekend, all weekend, not just today but tomorrow and Sunday as well. But particularly on stages like this, when you've got overhanging trees, you can it's quite different, isn't it? It makes the stage look completely different, despite it being the very same stage that you were on just several hours ago.
It does, and of course in Tasmania that's one of the biggest features, is that so much of the areas are shaded, and if it rains they stay wet, they don't dry out, so it's very tricky for a driver to pick when the grip is going to be good or bad. But on here today, you just mentioned, Dan, that this is a 5.5 kilometre stage. It doesn't sound a lot. For most of us that's just a short drive to the shops or work or whatever, but if you start pushing the car hard uphill all the way for 5Ks, all those temperatures are going to come up, the oil temperature, the coolant temperature, your brake pad temperatures are going to be quite hot, and so the need arises to run the very best pads.
Not just the actual car temperatures, but the driver temperatures as well. Of course, these guys are not used to this, anything more than 5 kilometres, and I'm sure they'd be feeling it. So yeah, it's not just the car temperatures they've got to worry about, but they've got to keep themselves in good nick as well.
That's right, and if you're in the competition section and you're wearing a flame-proof balaclava and your race suit and a harness device and a helmet, you'll know that it's warm, even on a day like today, which really is quite mild. But when you've been in the car for a few stages with your helmet on, you know about it. You'll dehydrate very easily. A
few of the drivers I spoke to last week, they were saying, thank goodness it's not like the one day we had last year, because there are a couple of people in convertibles, as we've seen already, come through. And last year there was a fair bit of rain on the one day, and there was a lot of heat on the other day. I think we had a day of 35 degrees last year, so some of them melted, and then also caught hypothermia on the same weekend. So they'll be really pleased with the weather conditions this year, and they were telling me, they're saying, oh, thank goodness the weather gods have shone on us this weekend. They're really looking forward to having perfect temperatures here around the Adelaide Hills this weekend.
Now that's rally people for you, isn't it? Firstly sunburn, then hypothermia, and they queue up to do it again the following
That's
year.
exactly right, yes.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's great that have returned from last year. You know, so many have returned from last year. A good 80% or more have come back from last year, which is absolutely fantastic. And we got some new entrants as well. As we spoke about earlier, the Prima Tour is a great way to get involved. If you are interested in getting involved, you can. If you're watching the live stream and you think, I wouldn't mind driving my car in this, you can. If you've got a little Honda Civic or anything like that, anything can enter in the main tour or the Spirit Tour. These are the branded cars, so you probably won't be with these, but the main and the Spirit Tour is open for you. But you can get a little teaser with the Prima Tour, which runs on Friday morning only. You do 4 stages, you get a bit of lunch involved, doesn't cost you an arm and a leg either, and it gives you a teaser, and if you enjoy it, you can come back and do the full 3 days in another tour further on down the track. It's a great way to get involved in the Adelaide Rally. But at the moment, we're seeing the BMW and Mini Tour head up the stage. So yeah, we've gone from one German brand to another, as I say.
Classic BMW coupe there, 633, I think, CSI. Unless I'm mistaken, but I think I was right. It went past me very quickly again. But look, the other thing that needs to be said about rallying is that you drive as fast as you want to. No, there's no pressure to go faster. You drive at a pace that you're comfortable with, and that's something that you'll work out very quickly. You know, how fast or how much commitment do I need, and where do I need to hold back? And you may even find that some roads, maybe the chemistry isn't there, and you just go, I'm just going to take it a bit easy through here because I haven't quite worked out this road yet. And you find other roads where it just seems to come naturally to you. You go, I love that road, I can't wait to go back and do it again.
You're absolutely right. That's the same not only at this level, but going up through the ranks as well. There's, you know, WRC drivers that go, yeah, I've never had the feeling on this stage. And then there's other stages where they're almost unbeatable. It's really interesting. You know, I think back to, you know, Colin McRae, you know, he's almost unbeatable in New Zealand because they were so much like the roads that he grew up on. There's certain nations, you know, that's why the Finns are almost unbeatable in Finland.
Yep.
And also in Sweden as well, because they're used to driving in the snow. It's very rare that a European driver goes to Sweden on the snow and takes victory. European, what I should say is a non-Scandinavian is what I should say.
That's true. And you know, New Zealand is very, very steep and very ball-bearingy in the gravel. So lots of slides and cars very rarely straight, if ever.
Yes.
But yeah, everybody has their stages that they like, and in fact, you find that some of the top drivers, when they prepare for an event, will look at the event and go, okay, these are the 5 stages that I'm absolutely going to attack. I'm going to win these stages, and then there might be another couple that they go, I'm prepared to take 2nd or 3rd or 4th in there, because I just, you know, maybe our car isn't quite suited, or it doesn't suit my driving, or, you know, whatever. But they make those judgments. Before the event, they make those judgments about things, and they decide where they're really going to commit the most. And yeah, you see it, as you say, when you're watching the World Rally Championship on the live streams and on TV on Foxtel, you'll see the lead change, because one stage will suit one driver and the next one suits another.
And in WRC as well, they do every stage twice as well, so you see that happen again the second loop through. It's a really exciting championship. If you haven't watched WRC and you're new to rallying, I urge you to watch it. It's a fantastic championship. It's been around now for over 50 years.
And I urge you to not try and drive like that, because they're freaks from another planet. They really, their skills are otherworldly. And even some of their peers have said that. There's a few of them that just defy logic, the way they can drive. But we are not at the World Rally Championship today. We're at the Adelaide Rally, which, okay, of course you've got to treat it with a level of seriousness and take responsibility for what you do out there, but at the same time there's a social aspect to it, and there's an enjoyment aspect to it. It's not cheap stations. It's an enjoyable, very well organised event that gives you the chance to drive in controlled conditions, so that you maximise the safety, you maximise the backup that you've got at each end of the stage, just in case anything does go wrong. And you know, We hope it doesn't, but hey, we're driving motor cars, and sometimes things will go wrong, despite the best preparation. So this is where you come along and you have a great time. You enjoy a bit of social interaction with your mates. You've got a few stories to tell tonight, probably in the bar, or maybe next week after the event. And it's going to be a memory for you forever of winning the part in the Adelaide Rally, or if you then go on and take part in a dozen.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the bug has bit you and you can't give up.
Well, the bug bit you hard. How many did you do?
I did 14.
There you go.
And look, in all honesty, the first time we did it, we said, wouldn't it be great to do it even if we only did it once? Mm-hmm. And we did, and of course there was no turning back. I loved it. I just couldn't wait for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the same for so many of these guys out there on the road at the moment. It's we came up the stage, didn't we, heading to where we are located from the start. We did the first sort of 400 metres or 500 metres, and it's quite a fast start to this stage.
It is.
Really, they're essentially just kinks, but each kink, I think, gets gradually tighter and tighter till you get to right where we are now. It's sort of a real chicane, and then bang, down into the hairpin, down a few gears.
Yep. And that shot that we've got on screen now, which has now changed, the shot that we had on screen where the cars come into view for us, is probably the first time that you're doing it, you're changing down a gear or braking. The rest of the time, those first 400 or 500 metres, you're just getting the car to carry as much speed as you can through that chain of corners. Yes, they are corners, but they're slight and you can carry speed through them. There's probably even a semi-straight line you can take through the lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they turn, as we say, through this tight chicane just here that we can see, and then down the gears into the hairpin. And then it's all about getting a nice exit through this hairpin, as we can see on the screen, because it's a good 400 metres up to the next corner. Maybe not quite 400, but it's quite a straight to the next corner, which is a 90-degree right-hander. That's caught out a couple of people earlier on today. A few people running wide there, and then there's a short shoot to another 90-degree, but that time to the left, and then it continues up and up through Norton Summit. That's why they call it Norton Summit, because you continue to make your way to the summit of the Norton Hill. It's a really iconic stretch of road, and this is a great spectator point to see the cars come through that chicane, take the hairpin, and then back up the other side, and I can see more and more cars making their selves at home there and watching the action. There's more and more people, the crowd getting bigger and bigger at that particular corner, which is awesome to see. It really is a great vantage point, which is why we've located our live stream here, of course.
It is, and the shot that we just had a moment ago of this right-hand corner which leads into the hairpin. You can see that now. You can't really see the right-hander very well, but it's quite a fast right-hander and you're carrying a fair bit of speed, and there's a lot of weight transfer that goes onto the left-hand side of the car. But the next thing you have to do is to turn left. So that weight transfer is going to go from one to the other. So you don't want to be standing on the brakes in that right-hander because you've just realised there's a hairpin. So that's why we have the road book. That's why the most competitive of the guys write their notes to tell them what corner's coming next. So they would know about that hairpin from their co-driver before they've even got into this right-hander view. So that's how it all works.
Just saw Tom Klevernick go up through the stage in his 1964 Porsche 356. That's an old school car, that is for certain. Really good to see a whole range from a current 2023 Porsche Cayman all the way through, as we say, back to 1964 Porsche 356. So there really is, there's several current 2023 spec Porsches out there, and dating all the way back through the 80s, 70s and even 60s. That
car of Tom's has done many Adelaide rallies.
It has.
I mean, the 356 is such an iconic shape. And a mate of mine in Dale Ashby and his brother James, in the Porsche 718 Spider. Now that's one of those really new cars that you're talking about, and a stunning looking car. I just got a look at it this morning, and it's a beautiful looking car. I don't know the exact specs, but of course being mid-engined, that one, and not quite the same as all the other Porsches, but a mid-engine car with very, very low windscreen line, very rake, better aerodynamics.
So that was the end of the Porsche tour. Now we're on with the Hyundai tour. So a few Hyundais coming through. Despite there being small in numbers, we do have a large variety within the Hyundai tour. So we've got anything from Elantras to i30s, and even a Kona N, which I saw for the first time at the rally here last year. So there's a good little mix of Hyundais, that's for sure, and they're all immaculately presented in that Hyundai colour that we spoke about earlier on today.
And again, Dan, this is an example of what you were talking about if you want to put your toe in the water, if you want to have a go. A Hyundai i30N is what, $40,000 to $50,000. You buy a used one if you want, and they drive extremely well straight off the bat. You don't need to reinvent the car in terms of suspension or brakes. It's a good package straight off the bat. Hell of a lot of fun to drive. And they have, in comparison tests with other more expensive cars, they've punched well above their weight. So there's a car that, for a not too big an outlay, you can drive to work until yesterday, and today you're punting it through the hills in controlled conditions and enjoying a bit of fun with your mates in the Adelaide Rally.
What gets me, we sort of spoke about it before, when Hyundai first came on the scene over a decade ago, you looked at Hyundai and you went, oh, it's a bit cheap and cheerful. But they are now a really, really good car manufacturer in terms of the quality of the build and everything that goes with it. And they are making really fast, really well built, and still, like, value for money. There's nothing that beats an end product Hyundai.
Yep. No, they, I think, and I mean, time flies, but I think it's actually the mid to late 80s when we first got Hyundais, and they were a bit cheap and cheerful, but to their credit, they've never really marketed the car on price. They've always just said, this is a good car, come and have a look at it and buy it. And of course now when you go and have a look at one, you're pleasantly surprised that their equipment level is good, the fit and finish is great, warranty package is excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
And then you get in one like an i30N and drive it, and woohoo, that's a lot of fun in a car.
They're magnificent pieces of machinery these days. Is that a smoking Mustang?
It is a smoking Mustang.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see. Yeah, that is certainly blowing out a bit of smoke. Can't quite see the number there, but you can smell it. We can smell it out the van. That does not smell quite right. This is now the main tour that we have moved on to, and there is, yes, certainly a not so well smelling or sounding Mustang out there.
There's a lovely current Mustang in blue, and modern cars being what they are, that car straight out of the showroom, 330 kilowatts of fuel injected engine management car that is going to start first time every time and run perfectly, and even get you good fuel economy, and then you can bring it out here and thrash it. And they make such a good noise. Indeed,
indeed. Of course, that's an old school Mustang. There's many new shaped Mustangs here this weekend, but that's one of the few old school Mustangs, I suppose you'd say. Yeah, it's interesting how popular they've become. Of course, back in the late 60s, they were such rare machines, but see Mustangs now, I mean, they still carry that same name. They're a very different car to what they used to be. A bit more of a sports car rather than a muscle car these days, but they've really gone on leaps and bounds, and they are selling in great masses at the moment.
Yep, still very hard to get a new one. And I'm not sure that's going to change a lot in the near future. I think you'd be ordering for well into 2024. But best way to find out, go and see your Ford dealer, and he'll soon set you straight.
Exactly.
But yeah, an enjoyable car to drive. in the tradition of old school muscle cars. Still tried to retain a bit of that retro look in the dash and the styling, but brought it into the 21st century at the same time.
That's right, that's right. I believe that Mustang that was smoking, I'm not entirely certain, but I believe that was 67 Mustang, and that in that case would mean that was Joanne Harmon at the wheel of that machine. So fingers crossed that is all good, just nothing terminal on that, as we can see the Tour follower going through. So there's a little bit of a break before the next group of main Tour vehicles comes through. We continue to see just how many there are. So over 300 cars entered in the rally this year, and yeah, that's in times gone by we've had even up to over 400 cars. This year a little smaller. We've touched on it in previous stages, but just with the rule changes in competition class in recent years, we've lost a couple, but we expect in years to come, as people get used to the new tarmac regulations and change their car to suit the new tarmac regulations, that will grow once again, and we expect to get back to those numbers of 400 odd. And why wouldn't you? When we'll see on Sunday, this event is ever evolving, with the addition of the new Strathalbyn stage. It's going from strength to strength in that sense. The rally changes in time, and there's some new events, and it's great to see the event moving forward.
That's right, and yeah, there will be a return of those drivers who are absent this year, as we listen to a flat six Porsche going flat out up the hill. And in fact, we might just have a listen to them for a minute.
Now we see the Mercedes come through. That's the white on one side, black on the other side Mercedes. It's a very strange livery. Reminds me of, was it the Williams in the late 90s? This is me going back to Formula 1 again, that had two different liveries on each side of the car. But anyway, we see the car heading up the hill. That's quite funny. It looks like it's a completely different vehicle depending which side of the road the camera's on.
I hadn't, I think I must have been on the other side of that car this morning, so I didn't know what you were talking about until I saw it go past. But yeah, it is very quirky.
Certainly catches the attention. Oh, that's a bit of a brake lock-up we can hear down into the hairpin. Is that a little Mazda?
RX-7 Series 3, nice gold one. Now, if you want to see the cars up close, especially when they're standing still, if you want to get a really good look at them, your destinations tomorrow would be the Bridgewater Oval or Foxfield Oval, which is at the bottom of Montacute Road at Athelston, or the Goodger Street Party, which is on from 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But if you want to know where those cars are, they're called regroups, when they all just get together and sit for a little while and have a cup of tea. Just get on the website, Adelaide Rally website, and it will show you where you can go and see the cars. Now, if you want to see them moving, if you want to watch them in action, in earnest, there's a good spot tomorrow, and that is Chain of Ponds. Now, the first car is due at 1:20 on the Millbrook stage. I think they're actually running Chain of Ponds twice, but they've given it 2 different names because it is running in 2 different directions. But again, if you go to the Adelaide Rally website, look at Spectator instructions, and you'll find all the detail that you need there. And I must commend Tim Possington and his team on doing that, because often the spectators are given pretty minuscule data as to how to get to spectator points for rallying, and it's only the diehards that, like me, that go out there and get out into the sticks and make their own arrangements to watch. But Tim has catered well for the spectators. Like I said, Tim is a driver himself. He knows rallying and he loves rallying and has even competed in this event previously, but he's not left the spectators out. So if you want tomorrow, Chain of Ponds, just head out to Tea Tree Gully, Inglewood, and you'll find your way there. Or you can go the back way through the Adelaide Hills to Cutler Creek, and that will also get you to.
I was going to say, if you turn the page as well, we've got Wairoa tomorrow, which is where we'll be on the live stream. So if you
That's right.
if you can't make it to Wairoa, which is Stirling and Aldgate, basically the road that connects Stirling and Aldgate, that's where we'll be tomorrow afternoon about this time. Make sure you get there. That's another spectator friendly stage. You can either be at the start of the stage, see the cars taking off, or see them at the flying finish at the end of the stage as
And the
well.
good thing about Wairoa is there's a walking track that goes all along one side of it. So even if you get there after the stage has started, you can just walk up that walking track and you'll get to see the cars. So you actually have a pretty good vantage point.
Yes, been very well organised, so by Tim Fossingham and Jake Olker as well. So that's a really good effort by the team at the Adelaide Rally to cater for everyone, and it's a really good vibe that that particular stage, I should say, has. So very much looking forward to getting there tomorrow, and then the big new one at Strathalbyn, as we say. So very much looking forward to getting there as well.
And that's late in the day too, although there is Windy Point after that.
Look at this setup. How cool's this? He's got a table. He's got.
Very civilised.
He is set for the afternoon. He knows he's in for the rally. He's here for the next couple of hours. He's come prepared. He knows where a good vantage point is.
He's a professional. He's a professional rally. You meet diehards. But just getting back to Wairoa, the stage that follows Wairoa is Windy Point, another good spectator point. And there's a couple of roads you can use to access viewing areas to Windy Point Road. The cars are coming up the hill from Mitcham up to Belair, passing the Windy Point Lookout. But if you wanted to get to the Windy Point Lookout, you'd have to get there well and truly before the stage closes, and that kind of information is on the Adelaide Rally website. But yeah, look, if you want to go to Wairoa tomorrow afternoon, and when the stage is finished, you might want to stay in the Adelaide Hills and take advantage of the Stirling pub or the Miss Perez or the various restaurants around Stirling or Aldgate. We've got two new Japanese restaurants, and we've got a fantastic fish restaurant called Angler. So there's a lot to do in the Adelaide Hills after you've watched the rally cars, and really that's what this event is about, is showcasing South Australia as a destination. This kind of footage or a highlights package gets shown in other parts of the world. Even in England, there's been people who've come out from England. Oh, I saw it on TV, thought we'd come out and watch the rally. So it does a wonderful job of acting as a tourist promotion for the state.
Absolutely it does, and that's why the South Australian government have got behind it, because they know what a great event this is for tourism in the state. So we've got to thank them for supporting this event. Without them it wouldn't be possible, and without the volunteers as well. Over 300 volunteers over the course of this weekend. Quite remarkable. You got to think there's so many course cars that are out there, the recovery team and everything as well. There's so many people that are involved to make this happen. You've got to remember, yes, we're watching this stage, but at the same time, the cars at the front of the field are now onto the next stage, and the cars that are yet to come, they're still on the stage previous. So there's cars scattered over, because there's 300 cars, there's cars scattered over 3 or 4 stages throughout the Adelaide Hills. It's remarkable. The effort and the organising that goes into it is mind-boggling. And
it runs like a military operation. The scale of organisation that goes on, in the background that we don't get to see is really to be commended, because it runs like clockwork. And when we talk about closed road stages, you have to consider that every road junction on that road needs to be roped off and manned by a volunteer. So we thank them for the work they do, because we just couldn't run this without them.
Absolutely. And we can see it's getting more and more shaded, even since the start of this live stream. That's almost entirely in the shade now. So it just shows how the sun is moving. And yeah, we're looking like that'll be completely in the shade by the time the competition cars come through, I reckon. So they are to come. These are just the tours so far. People just enjoying the Adelaide Hills, driving through them using both lanes and driving through at a bit of pace. and why wouldn't you drive your own car through it? But yes, the competition cars are to come. The 3 competition classes, TSD, Challenge and Competition, as we say, they are to come. They'll be around in the not too distant future. I think we've got a few more main tour cars to come through, and then we're on to Spirit Tour before we then have the 3 competition classes. So we're not too far away, and we are very much awaiting that with a great expectation. We really saw some of the commitment that some of the drivers had earlier on. You could really see how fast some of them were driving, and it really did show that some are more comfortable than others on this opening day, and it's pretty obvious who the favourites are. Just after that last stage, it'll be interesting to see if it's the same in this one. We know for one thing that one of the contenders didn't look so healthy. It was the Peugeot Peter Bogatek, so they lost a lot of time just in this stage alone, and that to me looked a little more than just a one-stage issue. That looked like that might haunt them for the rest of the day.
Well, that's right, Dan. But you know, on a rally, you do have the luxury of having your service crew meet you at various points. You can just see our commentary box there on the screen. Dan's waving. Very good, Dan. But you do have the luxury of having your service crew meet you at the end of certain stages, and if you do have a problem, maybe it's something they can fix and you can get back to full pace again. And I know the guys who helped me, I think they loved it as much as I did. I could never quite work that out, but they loved throwing themselves under the car and fixing whatever was wrong with it at the time.
Yes, we're located in the Streamcraft streaming van. They do a magnificent job. Here we are. So yeah, we're located in the front, and all the technology is right behind us that makes this live stream possible. There's a lot of technology back there, and the streaming team do a magnificent job. They don't just do the Adelaide Rally and the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. It's the same team that brings you the South Australian Drifting Championship, and they do a mighty fine job with their live streaming coverage. It really is great to see a local group doing such a good job for South Australian motorsport, not only rallying but drifting, and then circuit racing with the Adelaide Motorsport Festival as well. 3 completely different disciplines. And there you can see in the back of the van we've got Will back there, as well as Marcus. Those 2 are showing you and directing exactly what we're seeing on the screen right now, and that is a Mitsubishi Lancer course car heading up the stage. So that means that we are moments away from the Spirit Tour commencing. So that was the end of the main tour. So Spirit Tour up next. Now Spirit Tour's the first tour we'll see where they have to wear helmets, so it's a bit faster. The rules are a bit different for Spirit Tour.
They are a little different. Because I think they're capped at 120 kilometres an hour. Is that right, Dan?
Let me
I think
just
it is,
check
and
my
then
notes.
Challenge is 130. That's
correct.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So as we move up through the categories and they become more competitive, there's more stringent requirements for safety, and that safety extends to both the car and the apparel of the driver and co-driver. So they have to wear helmets. I think they need to wear wrist to ankle clothing. I don't think they have to wear race suits.
Yeah, correct.
In Spirit, but then as you move up, you get into Challenge, and you'll see that the safety level goes up again, the roll cage, and by the time you get to the full competition cars, the roll cages have very stringent requirements as to how they're made, where they're reinforced. One of the new requirements for the roll cages, which as Dan and I have alluded to earlier, has caused some people to not take part in competition this year, is that in your roll cages there is an A-pillar bar which runs down your A-pillar, on the inside of your A-pillar in your car, and that has to be very intimate, what they call intimate, so it has to be very close to the A-pillar. And I think now there is actually, it's mandatory that it's gusseted
Correct.
to the A-pillar, but there's also now the inclusion of another upright bar behind it, which is called a Carlos bar, and I'm not sure why they named that after Carlos Sainz, but might have been because of how many rollovers he had. But that's one of the new requirements, and that does take a bit of modification and fabrication. So it's not the kind of thing that happens in 5 minutes. There's certain people who are well trusted to do this kind of work, and they have a waiting list, and you know, sometimes you just can't swing it. But talking to Jack Monkhouse earlier in the day, his car had a double cross in the roof and crosses through the doors, the car loss bar. So, you know, we don't want anyone to have an incident, and we hope that they don't. But in the event of an incident, they're taking every precaution they possibly can. So then their helmets have to meet certain regulations. It's mandatory that they wear a harness device, which minimises neck injuries in any kind of frontal impact. And of course all their boots and their harnesses and so on have to meet the FIA requirements. They even have use by dates on them, so that once they get to a certain age, you've got to throw them away and buy some new ones. Far more stringent than your daily driver, which, you know, might have 20-year-old seatbelts in it. But these guys, as soon as they're a certain age limit, no, off they go. It doesn't matter if they've never been in an accident, they have to be replaced.
Absolutely. And we can see not too far from the Adelaide airport as well. It's probably, what, half an hour from where we are here. So yeah, everything from where we are right here. The city's 20 minutes away maximum. I'd say not even that. The airport's probably another 10 minutes beyond that. Everything around here is so local, and that's, as we say, it really does play to the strengths of this event. You don't have to go very far from the centre of Adelaide to find yourself on a stage just like this, and they are scattered around Adelaide. North, south, east, not so much west, but north, south and east of Adelaide. There's all stages around the CBD. And yeah, it's really, really cool that we are able to do this so close to Melbourne, to Adelaide.
To Adelaide. And tomorrow morning we'll be heading north. We'll be at the Hermitage stage, which is you know, around the One Tree Hill area, and yeah, Lower Hermitage, Upper Hermitage, and One Tree Hill. So that's us. That's probably as far north as we're going to go this weekend. But that is a stage that's been used right from the very first Adelaide Rally event, which I reckon would have been in about 96. Don't quote me on that, Dan, but if my memory serves me correctly, it would have been about 96.
I'll make a note. Nick Lincoln, 1996.
Oh dear. See, now I've put my foot in it. But yeah, it's been used for a long time. Tomorrow it's in the opposite direction to the times that I'd driven it. It's still going to be a terrific stage, and as Cameron Waring said to me once, never waste a crowd. So this is the plague, is it? This is the...
I'm not quite sure, but the drone's being attacked by something anyway.
The drone is being attacked. Yes.
Apparently a swarm of bees.
Mr. President, we are under attack. So yeah, so halfway through the Hermitage stage, there is a road junction where the cars have to turn very hard right back on themselves, 180 degrees. And you will see a number of drivers grab the handbrake and just rotate the car in the shortest possible distance to execute that corner as quickly as they can. And of course, as Cameron says, never waste a crowd. If you get to show off, just show off.
Yeah, it was run last year down the hill.
Was it?
Yeah, it was run last year down the hill. You can check out the live stream if you want of that on YouTube. That's still around. Also, of course, if you missed any of the action from earlier today, we ran the first loop 1 of this stage was only a couple of hours ago. So if you want to, at the end of the day, you can tune into that. And we also ran live stream stage number 1 as well. You can see the hazard lights come on there under brakes. That means the ABS being used to its full potential. That's what that means. So yeah, hard on the anchors, and seeing the ABS lights flashing, the indicator lights flash on the on this particular car when the ABS is being used, a bit of a warning device. So pretty cool to see that really in action there. And there's a couple of little Toyotas coming through at
I'm glad you were here to tell me that, Dan, because I would never have picked that. I wondered why they came on. and that's a very, very good insight into how the ABS is working now.
Yeah, it's a safety feature, effectively, to warn the cars on the roads. It's the same on the public road. Yeah, it's to warn people behind that you're on the anchors and there's a bit of an emergency stop going on.
This might not end well.
Yeah. Coleman going through in his Subaru.
Sounding beautiful as only a turbo Subaru can. That beautiful boxer engine sound and turbo. Yeah, great sound there.
Yeah, it's Jamie Coleman with Thomas Ireland in the co-driver's seat. As I say, that's the 2003 Subaru, which of course is the last time Subaru won the World Rally Championship with Petter Solberg behind the wheel. And then that's before the Sebastian domination began of Loeb and Ogier. But we now look at a BMW. Oh, that's almost bottoming out there around the hairpin. Really struggled to get that turned in, did Troy Hemmerling, but it did turn in, and it seems to have exited the corner quite nicely there. So nicely done there by Troy, certainly using that BMW to its full potential. The 335i, really nice looking BMW, that one. It's over a decade old now, quite comfortably over a decade old, 2006. And here is a Renault Megane coming through. The RS 250, 250 referring to the horsepower that the car has. So that's the 2011 mark. That's Matthew Holt at the wheel of that machine. And then we've got the hopping of the
Ford
that's
Focus.
cool. That's cool, the Ford Focus.
RS.
Spluttering and accelerating out the corner, not using all the road there, holding it a bit more to the middle of the road as he exits the corner. That pops so much more than any other car, I reckon, this weekend, or anyone that's in Spirit Tour anyway.
Well, some of these modern cars having bimodal exhaust straight out of the show, you know, and, flick of a switch and you've got your racy exhaust on. Another Mustang heading up the hill.
Yeah, that's
A nice V8 sound. And that one's a manual too, which is good.
yes. I think we both agree on that one. Yeah, can't beat a manual. That's Nella at the wheel of his Ford Mustang GT. So there you can see that's where the next corner is, a 90-degree left-hander. And does it continue? So we see the big rise out of the hairpin towards the right-hander. Does it continue to that same degree, continuing? Is it up the hill at the same level, or does it sort of level out a bit further into the stage?
No, it's uphill. It's uphill nearly all the way. It's only when it gets up to about Turingi that it just levels out. There's actually a little jump where it starts to level out, and then it becomes far more tight. It's really like second, third gear, just accelerate, brake all the time. And then before you know it, the stage is finished. But yeah, predominantly fast uphill.
We're looking here at Chris Howie using the big V8 motor to power him up the hill. Of course, 5-litre V8 motor in the Ford Mustang is using that to its full potential. And then from a big powerful rear wheel drive car to a nippy but yet still very fast Mitsubishi Lancer, we see take the hairpin. Short shifting a little bit there, not quite using the full rev range and that turbo to its
Turbo's making all that torque down low. Used to annoy me.
I'm sure it would. Here's that Skoda I spoke about. So yeah, I do believe it is a Skoda.
And it's well pedalled, isn't it, Dan?
It is.
This is the second time he's delivered for us. He's really getting his value for money out of this Skoda.
This is Hugo Hurley-Wellington at the wheel of this, the sole Skoda in the Adelaide Rally this year. And yeah, using all the road there as well. So he certainly knows his racing lines and how to pedal this machine, the Skoda Octavia RS, up the hill. As we now look at the Honda Integra. This sounds fantastic, driven by Kyle Newhill. And Kyle certainly pushes it, that's for certain. using all the road there on the exit of the corner, right up to the rev limiter. That's fantastic.
Lovely VTEC sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Gets it nicely into the apex,
Lovely.
using all the road on the exit. Yeah, Kyle is driving that thing really, really nicely. This thing's been driven pretty hard as well. This is, of course, the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, which, of course, we see in the Supercars Championship. It's going to be a Chevrolet Championship winner next weekend in the Adelaide 500. But who's it going to be? Which Chevrolet driver? That remains the question. Brody Kostecki or Shane Van Gisbergen, it looks like it's going to be, but which one of those two? There's still some outsiders, but those are the two favourites. Of course, Shane Van Gisbergen's last Supercars drive, certainly for the foreseeable future, as he heads stateside, of course, next year. That's going to bring a lot of fans, actually, to see Shane Van Gisbergen in his last Supercars event. Can he clinch another title? He's won a couple on the bounce. Can he do it again? Or will we see a new Supercars champion crown next weekend? Well, we'll have to wait and see. We're not too far away from that title decider.
Fabulous driver, Shane. Watched him at the Bathurst 12 hour a couple of times.
Yes.
And
he can drive anything.
He can drive anything, and he rates amongst the best. You know, when you watch him up against guys who are former F1 drivers, and he really is as good as anything that they produce.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you there. As we see Simon Berry driving his Austin Healey BN4, and then something a bit different, Mitsubishi Evo. It's the number 400, I think that was. No, it's not right. It can't be number 400. There's a few Mitsubishi Evos, so we've got a few on our entry list in white. So without seeing the number, it is hard to differentiate, unfortunately. So we do apologise for that.
Now there's our very quick Audi again.
Yes, the RS3 driven by Oliver Taylor. Oh, just love watching him drive. It's fantastic. Really pedalling it. To be honest, I'd really like to see Oliver drive. Oh, that looked a bit wide though. But yeah, I'd really like to see Oliver step up to TSD Challenge in the coming years. It'd be really good to see.
Or full competition.
Yeah, exactly. Or full competition. Go the whole hog.
But it just shows how composed that modern car is. You know, the manners of it, the way it behaves. It's just the dynamics of that car are just so good to watch.
This is the 440 machine of Ben Clark heading up the hill. This is his 2019 Subaru STI. And that certainly takes off up the hill, doesn't it? That's for sure. Taking the 90-degree right-hander. I think it's quite deceiving, that corner, isn't it? It seems to get tighter as you go around.
That would be Ben Auld, Dan.
yes it would. As
our favourite exhaust.
Possibly the loudest car here this weekend, certainly up there, that's for certain, as it roars through the streets of Adelaide. I tell you what, that'll echo off the buildings in Strathalbyn on Sunday.
It will, yeah.
Look forward.
And well pedalled too by Ben.
Oh, absolutely. As we now look at another Gazoo Yaris. Not quite sure. There we go, the lights flashing again using all gas, the 424 machine of Ryan Shook. So yeah, again we could see the ABS light warnings there heading into the corner. So that's not the first time we've seen that from a Gazoo Yaris. Interesting, I didn't notice that earlier on today, so it shows that they're getting more confident. They're pushing the brake markers and requiring the use of the ABS.
And they're actually making use of all the incredible things that are in these modern cars.
Yes.
All the smarts that have been built in by the manufacturer, and they're actually getting to the point of working. There's that beautiful RX2 coupe of Dan Beck, always immaculately presented.
I bet this doesn't have ABS.
No, they'd be lucky to have brakes. They weren't renowned for having great brakes. But yeah, the RX2s, you know, campaigned at Bathurst and in rallying in South Australia, lots of them used. And I had the joy of punting a Mazda RX-3 and rallying myself. Now that's your Civic, is it the new
It
one?
is the 2023 Honda Civic, driven by Martin Guppy, as I say. There's not many of these in the country at the moment, let alone in the States. So really cool to see the brand new Honda Civic Type R around the Adelaide Hills.
And Martin Guppy, of course, his association with Honda extends to his motorcycle, Honda motorcycle dealerships that he has had.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that. What is that, do you think, on the top of this Subaru? It looks like I really can't work it out. Is it a surfboard, or I really can't work out what it is. I'm going to try and find out, whether that be tomorrow morning. Maybe you can find out in.
I reckon it's probably got the S gear.
I really don't know. But this Mazda as well started off the day quite slowly, but stage by stage, Leith Thornton's getting more and more confident behind the wheel.
And you just look at the lines they're driving now. Like we were talking earlier in the day about people not using all the road because they're not used to it. That, you know, they were driving to work yesterday on the correct side of the road. Today we've given them the whole road, and of course it's an unnatural act to use all the road.
Particularly if you're going around a right-hander, you know, a tight right-hander for that. You used to stick into the left-hand side of the road. For you on a blind corner to jump over to the right-hand side of the road goes against everything you've ever learned.
Exactly right. And let's keep it that way on the
roads, yes. Make sure you only do it on these stages.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got to go between stages, and you've got to adhere to the road rules still, of course. You've got to stick to the speed limit. It's only these select stages, these few kilometres that are closed, and there are, of course, distances travelled in between stages from one to another. You can't just fly from one stage to another. There's famous vision over the years of different rally people, not in the Adelaide rally, we should stress, in international rally this is, that have tried to go from one stage to another on public roads with just 3 wheels on their wagon. Of course, that's absolutely a no-no, not just in the Adelaide rally, but as a whole. But of course, World Rally drivers do try and push their boundaries, shall we say. Speaking of
lovely wastegate noise.
Yes, exactly. Heading into the turn, it's 434. That's Louis English behind the wheel of his Liberty. So that's not a Impreza, as many of the Subarus are this weekend. That's a Liberty, which of course I believe is where Colin McRae actually started. Well, actually no, Colin McRae started in a Sierra, didn't he? And then made his way up to a Liberty, and then the famous Impreza. But yeah.
Yeah, the first time I went to Rally Australia when it was in Perth, I think it was 91, maybe. That was the Subaru works car. It was a Liberty. That was their World Rally car.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been Carlos Sainz, but don't quite be on that one.
Was 91 where Sainz rolled the Corolla?
Celica.
I'm sorry, yes, Celica.
I was there. He rolled it on 3 different occasions.
That's
I
right,
managed to get to 2 of the 3, which I thought wasn't a bad effort.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yes, I'm a bit embarrassed. I said Corolla. Yes, Celica. I knew what I meant.
It was a ridiculous couple of days for Carlos. And the third one, he just got out of the car and got into the helicopter and went home. So I've had enough of this.
Okay. It's funny now you say Carlos Sainz, and 95% of the world's population will go, oh, the Ferrari Formula 1 driver. Of course,
does have a dad.
I grew up with Carlos Sainz being a...
The Matador.
Yes, exactly. Being a works rally driver and being the teammate of Colin McRae. It's funny now that the younger generation growing up with Carlos Sainz being a Formula 1 driver, the son of course. Both equally as good as each other in their own right. As you see, the Volvo S60 heading up the hill, of course, made famous here in Adelaide by Scott McLaughlin. In that iconic battle with Jamie Whincup for second place back in 2014. It's such a shame that the time with Volvo in supercars is so brief, because it was a great car, a real crowd favourite, made really famous by Scott McLaughlin, who's doing such great things now over in IndyCar.
He's a very talented driver.
Absolutely. Another Kiwi, Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin.
Another one we've adopted, haven't we?
Yes, yeah. Exactly right, exactly.
Together with Crowded House and a few other things. But no, it is. Look, it's the nature of when you have the heroes in Formula One and rally, and then you finish up watching their sons. And Mick Doohan, who was big, being also a motorcyclist, and now his son Jack is running very well in open wheelers.
Certainly is, doing Formula 2 of course this year. He's taken a few wins over the last couple of years. He's an Alpine junior driver as part of the Formula 1 Academy there. So yeah, he's looking to do great things in the world of Formula 1. Like Carlos Sainz Jr., he's decided to go a different route to what his father did, and he's doing a mighty fine job with it at the moment. But how cool is it to have not one but two Australians on the Formula 1 grid at the moment? Our four-legged friend has returned.
Right.
And why wouldn't our four-legged friend? Brilliant action earlier on this morning. And let's return this afternoon to see yet more brilliant action. So yeah. That is definitely the same dog we saw this morning.
And he's well behaved, isn't he?
He is, certainly.
Considering it's a bit of a noisy spot. There's another course opener car coming through.
Absolutely. So I believe that was the end of Spirit Tour. So now we are moving on to the competition classes, and we start with the big one, the outright competition class, where they will be pushing 110% through this stage. Then we move on, of course, to Challenge and then TSD.
Speaking of competition, that course car was Declan Dwyer, who is one of our South Australian rally champions on gravel. And as I mentioned this morning, if you're watching the news and there's been a fire, you probably see Declan interviewed because he's one of the fire chiefs around town. So he gets a lot of exposure.
Yeah, does a great job for...
Bit of a thrill seeker, fireman and rally driver.
Yes. He likes the heart pumping and the adrenaline going. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, really great to have him a part of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. Great to have, of course, Napa Motorsport Academy jump on board this year and support the event as well as Calder Wealth managing on the fact earlier on that Calder himself isn't competing this year, but still, despite that, getting behind the event.
Yeah, which is great. And Ben's been a long-term sponsor and competitor. I'm not sure if he's not competing because of the rule changes. I couldn't tell you, but it's just great to have that name around again as a part of the event, Calder Wealth Management. And if you're a bit of a motorsport enthusiast and you'd like to talk to someone about what you should do to create and build your wealth for whether it be retirement or for taxation, gearing or whatever, Ben and the guys they're the people who can help you with that, and they're motorsport enthusiasts as well.
Absolutely, exactly right. A bit like Shannon's, our naming rights sponsor of the event. They are, of course, motoring enthusiasts, and they share your passion for all things motoring, whether that be motorsport or just your road car, and they'll help ensure not just your road vehicle, but also the things that go with it as well, whether that be suspension that you intend to put on, another engine. They'll even insure your tools. If you've got many tools in your garage at home, they'll insure those as well.
Yeah, it's good coverage, and it does reflect their motorsport background. I think Robert Shannon was a competitor in motorsport, and this is going back some time, but yeah, they do have a history of being around motorsport for a long time, and whether your car is a classic, whether it's as some of mine have been, 60s and 70s sporty cars, or whether it's your daily driver, they can insure both, and in fact they'll give you a discount if you do.
Here we go then, first of the competition cars, I think.
And that's that Jeff Holholm, and that was very cool. He is having a red hot go. That's the Toyota Supra.
It is.
And Jeff, of course, no stranger to rallying, but more so to long distance enduro events like the Dakar, and I think Australian safari type events. Who have we got now?
This is the slightly better sounding... Oh no, it's not.
No, it's the DR30 Skyline.
It is. I thought it was the Peugeot.
And it's not sounding that fit.
No, it isn't. It's not sounding great at all. I was going to say it's...
There's a gear there somewhere.
Yes, not quite where he originally thought it was, but there is a gear. Going back to Jeff Olholm and John Doble as well, they're both from Perth. They only arrived in the last couple of days, so the effort that they go to year on year to take part in this event is just fantastic. It's coming all the way from Western Australia. We see the 706 machine of Stephen Campbell gets that really nicely turned in, using all the road on the exit and roaring up the hill. It's one of the best lines I've seen through there all weekend long. A really nice, sensible few corners there from Campbell. And then up next we've got the
Andre Lucas in the S14.
Yep.
14? Yes.
Yes, S14, yeah. S14 200
200 SX turbocharged Nissan, which was at one time the preferred weapon of choice for every drift driver in the country, because of its natural ability to step out.
Here we go, former winner,
well punted.
former winner Matthew Selly hopping past us. Can hear the brakes squeaking down into the hairpin. He's got it turned in nicely. Lovely drive out the corner. That thing looks really fast. He's certainly one of the pace setters here today, just from the few corners that we've seen throughout the day's stages, in comparison to what of course has been run. Matthew Selly putting in a mighty performance this morning.
Yeah, really good. Hamish McKendrick on the notes, and they have been together as a partnership for some years now, so they've been working really well together. Here's an Evo.
It is. This is Oscar Matthews with co-driver Naomi Tillett. This is 1999 now, Mitsubishi Lancer, but it's been driven well. Oscar's a really, really handy steerer, and you can see that just from these images.
Yeah, and I think with Naomi on board, I think that's going to add a bit of power to his assault this year. Cameron Waring and his wife Tanya just coming into the picture now, getting that car turned in. A couple of driving instructors in the same car, and running that BMW V8 right out to maximum revs.
Yeah, of course, the owners of ADI, the Australian Driving Institute. So yeah, it's all about driver training for these sort of events, really, and many of our competitors have been through them in the last few weeks to make sure they are ready for this event. And you can see why Cameron is a really, really handy steerer. And as you said earlier, Tanya, a former co-driver of yourself, so you've got a good connection with those two.
A real good co-driver she is, and that's Zane Admiral in the WRX.
It is. Not quite using all the road there, not quite as committed as some of the ones we've seen, but certainly not a slouch, that's for certain.
And look, some of this comes down to the way the car steers, the way it works in the corners. And that was very quick. That's an Evo. That is the Evo of
Douglas Johnson. Douglas Johnson and Molly Spaulding side by side in their 2002 Mitsubishi Evo. This is one of the best presented cars for me. It looks really cool. The blue, the red and the white. It's a really outstanding livery.
Dan, that was very quick through there.
It was.
His commitment was very good. He braked really late, but still got it through the corner perfectly. And Molly, also a steerer herself.
Yes, yeah.
I'm
really interested to see where this car finishes come the end of the weekend. Ian Watson, a really good steerer. You can see he knows how to handle a machine. The Polo certainly doesn't have the power of some of the cars we've seen, and it probably doesn't have the handling ability of some of the cars that we've seen as well. But come the end of the weekend, I'll be really interested to see where they are. And yes, here is Jack Monkhouse. He can fling a car around, that's for certain. Full commitment all of the time from Monkhouse, and you can see that there.
All the road.
Yeah, not an inch to spare was there. Absolutely all of the road on the exit of the hairpin, and down into this corner as well. Flings it in, nice apex, nice exit. Yeah, Jack is on a mission today. That looks mighty fast.
It was, and I don't know if you caught it, but just in that first shot in the right-hander, just here where we are, he was so close to the apex. He was clipping the grass.
I just want to hear this. Oh, he was a bit nicer to the gearbox than he was earlier this morning. He just chucked it down the gears earlier, using all the revs to try and slow the car down, but that sounded a little more nice on the gearbox, let's put it that way.
Those Toyota engines love a rev, don't they?
Yes, they certainly do. Robert Brocklebank certainly pushing that Toyota around, that is for certain. And great to see him. He's a real nice character to have around, and a reasonably handy steerer as well. So great to have Brocklebank with us this weekend.
There's the TX3 of Mark Lacey.
Yep.
With Matty Woods alongside him this time. I think first time they've paired up. But Mark formerly given the notes by his daughter, Amy, for many Adelaide rallies. But Mark also a competitor on gravel. He uses a different TX3. He's got a fleet of them. And does all his own prep. Now that's Nick Strikeisen, I think.
It is, yes.
In the 944 Turbo with his son Jacob in the chair. Nick is a very quick steerer. He was at Legends of the Lake last weekend in Mount Gambier, and he was well into the top 5 cars at the finish in his R35 GTR. Very, very committed driver. Will go as hard as it takes.
Very different
doing
cars.
A good job.
Very different cars. An
Yes.
R35 to a Porsche 944.
Well, I think because originally when Nick started this event, he wanted to be in a classic sort of framework, and there was some criteria that meant that the 944 was the car to use. It was the weapon of choice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so now he's got the R35 GTR, which is a absolute weapon, and has been used at Mount Alma at the hill climb, down at Inman Valley, and the Legends of the Lake, and at Wollonga Hill. You know, he's always right up on the podium in those events. It takes a lot of commitment to steer a car like that. It's a big car, but yeah, a very diverse field there for our competition category, and just made it so interesting to watch, from TX3s to BMW V8s.
I'm really looking forward to seeing who's leading come the end of today. I think it's out of myself. I think it's out of Selly or Monkhouse on this opening day. They certainly look like the quick ones for me from what we've seen on the 3 stages so far.
Now, you know, Jack has no right to lead that field in a 1971 motorcar, don't you?
We say that, but it's certainly not as it was when it came out the factory all those years ago.
Isn't.
It's a very different machine.
Actually, I doubt there's anything left other than the body shell.
Yes, yes.
But that car is a 2.4 litre 16 valve engine with fuel injection with independent throttle bodies. It's got, if you get a chance to have a look under the bonnet, the exhaust system is a work of art, and a sequential gearbox. Just the quick flick of the gear lever gearbox, and it shows. You know, it's super fast. He just did the Rally of the Barossa and set a lot of faster stage times up against Evos, which really, you know, you shouldn't have a car like that beating them, but 2-wheel drive car on gravel against 4-wheel drive turbo cars and running neck and neck with them is credit to his steering.
While we wait for the challenge class to come through, we've got to chat with the TSD competitor, Hamish Eaton.
Hamish Eaton. We've got a 1979 Porsche 911 done up as a 74 IROC car, and we're entered into the Adelaide Rally this year.
G'day, I'm David Herman. I'm Hamish's co-driver. I'll be helping him out this year with the navigation, having started in the Spirit Tour, which was a lot of fun without any pressure of actually racing or being timed. When we've done the challenge competition last year, we enjoyed the timing, and we again didn't really feel any great pressure to be the fastest car there. And I think the TSD gives us an opportunity to work against the clock, but without that same pressure to go super fast.
One of the favourite stages is actually the shortest for me, which is the first stage of the day, which is the Beaumont stage. That's actually a road I drove most days of the week to and from work, and to get a chance to open up this little car on that road is almost feels naughty, but it's quite good fun because I know that road really, really well.
Bull Creek Road.
Yeah, Bull Creek's pretty good. We had a lot of fun in that last last year.
We might have gone a little bit too fast.
Yeah, I think Rally Safe told us to slow down quite a number of times, but that's okay. That's what it's there for. So yeah, those longer stages, you get a bit of a rhythm up, and they're
right.
pretty good fun.
I think the unique thing about the Adelaide Rally is the accessibility to it, and for us, the proximity of the stages to the city. We have a central hub in the city. Every morning within half an hour, we're out racing in some fantastic locations on some extraordinary roads, really right close into a lovely city.
It does limit how many times you have to fill the car up with petrol during the day, doesn't it, when the stages are closer? When the changes came in for the necessary upgrades you needed to compete in either challenge or competition, we found it better for us to go back to the Spirit Tour. And then after signing up for the Spirit Tour, the TSD became available, which I suppose gives everything of the challenge section that we did last year, but just a different maximum speed limit of 120 kilometres an hour, which we were used to, but without any changes to the safety of the vehicle. In that I consider it pretty safe already, but I didn't want to have to upgrade it with new seats, etc. Not that we'll be looking at times, Dave, I don't think.
No.
But the option is there.
I think the Adelaide Rally gives you a fantastic opportunity no matter what your experience level. If you really haven't done any rallying before and have got the bug, then the main tour or a branded tour is a perfect opportunity to see the roads, get an experience of what the event's like. And then as you become more serious, something like the Spirit Tour or now the TSD option gives you a chance to go a bit faster. And of course, if you've got lots of experience and you're serious, then the serious competition's always an option there and gives you a chance to really go hard.
Great chat there with Hamish Eaton of TSD. We'll see him come through very, very shortly. Just got a couple of challenge cars going through at the moment, so we've only missed the one. This is the second challenge car to go through the stage. So yeah, TSD, as Hamish was alluding to, he stepped back to Spirit Tour briefly. And then when TSD became available, he thought, that's what we want to do. That's can't do challenging comp with the new regs. We can't get our car changed, or we can't afford to get our car changed. So TSD is that perfect mixture between a tour and a competition club.
Highly competitive.
Indeed, indeed. So as he explained as well, it's all about time, speed and distance, but we'll get on to that a bit later on. Currently, we have the challenge class cars roaring up the hill, and roaring up the hill currently is Nigel Joyce in his Subaru WRX. Do you reckon that's the most common car here this weekend? What do you reckon? Certainly in the competition classes, I reckon it's the most common, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of McLarens and Ferraris and that in the tours, particularly in Zagami. We're spoiled for choice in Zagami, but these challenge class cars come through. Oh, that's a big brake lock up there for Ross Smith in his Nissan 300 ZX.
I think the Evos might outnumber the WRXs, Dan. There's been a lot of them. But look, they're both good weapons of choice, and they both had their day in the sun in terms of being the sought after weapon of choice for rallying.
I agree there. I very much agree there. Generally, though, you're one side or the other, weren't you? You were a Subaru person, or you were a Mitsubishi person. You've been a rally enthusiast. What was it for you? Which one?
We had 3 Subarus.
There you go.
Not for rallying. Just
No.
as dailies in the family, and loved them. Great car.
It's like in Australian motorsport, Holden or Ford. In rallying, it's Subaru or Mitsubishi. Very much the same thing. You're one or the other. You can't be both.
Well, that was a purple patch for rallying. Subaru and Mitsubishi just slugging it out with Tommy Mackinnon, Colin McRae. Richard Burns, yeah, it was a real good period for rallying.
I agree. I think there's been several lures, as we touched on, the sort of Escort and the Alpine early days. Then you had the Group B era. I mean, you can't ever replicate that again, can you? Some of the most iconic cars in motorsport history, not just rallying. And then, of course, as you say, in the late 90s and early noughties with Mitsubishi and Subaru going hammer and tongs. Then, as we say, Peugeot was in there as well in the mix in that era as well.
Yes, they were. There was a lot of manufacturers slugging it out. We've just had Peter Mathman go through in the MGB8. And here's Roger Barato in this Fiat 131, which looks for all the world like an old works car, with Jeremy Brown on the notes. And they're both Italian car tragics. And I can't, when I say tragics, I can't stress that enough. They they have too many Italian cars between them. Jeremy being a Lancia fanatic, Roger owning a couple of Lancia Delta Integrales, and one for rally and one for road. And there's Jai Raymond and his mum in the passenger seat, absolutely wringing the neck of a 400 horsepower dry sump Rover.
I spoke to Jai and Jen a couple of days ago, and Jen said to me, she says, you know what I like about the Adelaide Rally? The fact that my son has to listen to me when I tell him the pace notes.
That's right. It's the only time she can tell him what to do.
That's exactly right. And he can't say no.
She is a really good competitor, Jen. You know, there was a few of us, Datsun 240Z with Roger Lohman and Annie Bainbridge, Jai, myself, and we would just be swapping times all through the event, and it was great camaraderie. It's, you know, you wouldn't miss it for quids.
No, absolutely not. As they continue to come through, here is your favourite car, the Dean Cook machine, the 1971 Ford Escort twin cam.
Look at that beautiful bubble arched Mark I Escort in the tradition of early 70s rallying. Sean Bennett on the notes. Sean normally is an auctioneer in his day job.
Okay, yeah.
So probably calls out the notes, 7 left, 9 right. Chance on a 7.
Yes,
yeah.
Going once,
going
twice.
Yeah. No, he shared a drive with me at one point, and it was great fun. We had a ball.
Very good. And then the John Cooper Works Mini coming through now as well. And that being driven by Greg Swiggs. And again, this is another one where they're sort of plucking away in, you'd say, an underpowered car compared to some of those like the Rover that we saw come through just before. But again, these tight twisty stages really suit the Mini.
They handle beautifully. And I think if you can get them on the right stretch of road and you get a bit of rhythm going,
they turn on a dime.
They'll punch above their weight.
Absolutely. The puff of smoke as the Subaru goes for the gear change up the hill. But other than that, looking good is that particular machine. I think that's the Rowan Payne car, I believe, or Tony Spry. Not quite sure which Subaru it was. We've got a couple of blue WRXs in challenge, and I didn't quite catch the number.
It was a bit of a puff of smoke from that car as it left the hairpin, and I don't like seeing puffs of smoke from turbo cars. It's quite often a bringer of doom, and it did seem to slow later up the hill, but fingers crossed.
Yes. Now, I didn't think it slowed too much, so fingers crossed you say there's no turbo issue there. But yeah, now we're completely in the shade at that corner. I thought we would be by the end of the stage, and we are, because that was a really tricky corner. The sun was right in their eyes before as they were going around the little left-handed kink, but no more. They don't have to worry about that now. They might have to worry about this one though now. That's right.
Travelling into the darkness.
Yeah, just to the we're just to the right hand side of that camera shot. So yeah, sun's blazing down there, so you can really see the shaded patches and the sunny patches, and that could play a factor throughout the weekend. We touched on it earlier on, but it's a key part of rallying that, you know, the stages do change. They are roads. You know, there's no other way of saying it. They are public roads. They're sheltered by trees and things like that. And you know, of course, the sun rises, the sun sets, the sun moves.
That's right. You're driving in and out of the light, and you know, in some places the road surface will be warm, and other places it's not quite so warm. And that's why it's really important to get your tyres up to temp and your brake pads up to temp, and just be a little bit patient sometimes till you really get on it, so that everything's right.
There's a bit of a breeze, as we saw there from that last camera angle look. You can see
It's,
a bit of a
what
breeze.
is it, 5 o'clock now, Dave? Must be getting very close
I
to.
think so, yeah. You lose track of time with these live streams, they just fly by. But yeah, I think it must be about 5 o'clock now, as you say. So yeah, it's certainly getting cooler, that's for certain, and there is a bit of a breeze. And again, that's another thing you got to play into account as well on these stages. But yeah, the breeze certainly getting up, which is probably going to catch a few people out. I imagine a few people will be getting sunburned as a result because they think it's not as hot as it actually is.
Yeah.
I always think Phillip Island, the Grand Prix Phillip Island circuit, is the worst place in the world for that. The amount of times I've been critically burnt there.
Yeah. While you were cold.
Yeah, exactly. I went to MotoGP last year on the Friday and burnt myself to an absolute crisp.
Yeah.
I froze to death during the day and then red raw when I woke up on Saturday in agony.
It's not hot, and there's a gentle breeze blowing, and then you go, how did I get so sunburned?
Yeah, please make sure everybody watching and everybody attending the rally over the course of this weekend, there might be a bit of a breeze, but please slip, slop, slap your sunscreen on, because these are the conditions where you really can get burnt, where it doesn't feel as hot as it actually is. But yeah, 25, 26 all weekend long. Those guys had the right idea. They're in the shade, they know what to do. And yeah, they look like keen enthusiasts watching all of the action on the Stream Craft stream. Really good coverage being brought to us by the team as always.
There's another couple of professionals.
Yeah, they brought their camping chairs. They know they knew that they were going to be here for a while, so why not bring the camping chairs? Make yourself comfortable. We saw the man earlier. I'm sure he's still there with his whole setup, his whole dinner. By the looks of it, is what he brought. The whole table full of food, bread, sausages. It looked like he had. He was all set up for not just the stage, but it looked like he was set up for the rest of the night as well. As we see the course car go up the hill, that means we're only a couple of minutes away from the start of TSD. So let's touch on that a bit more. So TSD is a time, speed, distance category. It's all about trying to make it to the finish line at the designated time. So let's say, actually, let's use this stage as an example. So we are currently on the second run of Norton Summit. It's 5.49 kilometres in length, and they have issued that they should go up in 4 minutes and 42 seconds.
Now you just keep talking, Dan, while I do the maths. Just give me that again. We're going to have a distance of
5.49 kilometres, and they should do that in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Now, we should stress that for every second you are slower than that, is 1 additional second added to your time. But for every 1 second you are faster than that, you get a 5-second penalty. So if you're 2 seconds faster than that, if you do a 4 minute and 40 second time, you'll get a 10-second time penalty. So you're better off being ever so slightly slower than you are ever so slightly quicker. However, you can't make your way up the stage with 4.5 minutes and then slow down right at the end. You got to make sure you keep to the speed.
Now, I just did the maths, and just to prove that I can do maths. Don't laugh, it's true, I can. I went to school, and the average speed for the stage is 70 kilometres an hour. Now, it doesn't sound too hard, does it? You might say, well, I could average 75 in there. I could average 80. That's not the point. You have to average 70. And that's where the struggle lies. So coming up here, they'll be going quicker than 70, but as they slow down for that hairpin, obviously their speed drops down to lower than 70. And somehow they have to juggle all that on the fly while they're in the stage without stopping.
Correct.
Because you can't just go flat out and then just stop outside the finish line.
Wait
for the time to come up, as a few World Rally drivers have done over the years. No, to drive the stage at a 70 kilometre per hour average, bit of a task.
The rules state you cannot go under 20 kilometres an hour. So anything under 20 kilometres an hour, you get hit with a severe penalty. So you can't just pretend to go around the hairpin really slowly and, you know, lose speed that way. You still have to drive at a reasonable pace. So 20 kilometres an hour is the absolute minimum at any point. And if you are seen to do under 20 kilometres an hour, and we know from the app, the Rally Safe app, whether or not you do under 20 kilometres an hour. So it's always tracked what speed you're doing on the Rally Safe app. You can't get away with it.
Damn that Rally Safe app.
Exactly. That's one of the great things about the app as well. So yeah, we know if you've gone under 20 kilometres an hour, and you will be slapped with a pretty severe penalty if you do that as well. So you've got to be over 20 kilometres an hour at least, and yeah, got to try and hit the average on this particular stage of 70 kilometres an hour.
And you might hit 80 or 90 or 100, but you have to average 70. That's your target. Now, if this is your thing, if this really floats your boat, there's an event that I do and a group of mates of mine have done for over 20 years now at Mallowar, which is the 6-hour relay. Now, in that event, you nominate the lap time you want to do. You set your own. So you say, okay, I'm going to lap at 1 minute 26, and every time you do a lap on 1 minute 26, you get a point. If you go slower than 126, it doesn't matter. If you do a 125, you not only lose the lap you just did, you lose another lap. So it's another one of those games of precision, and of course you're not allowed to have any kind of timing device in your car. You do have people on the pit wall who tell you what was the lap you just completed, but it's too late then, you can't fix it. And of course, when there's 20 cars on the track and you're being passed or passing, it's hard to juggle. Yes, I think this is a 1 minute 26, but I'm not sure. And look, as with the TSD category in this event, we've gone back 20 years in a row to do it because we love it. It's a fantastic event. And it's only as serious as you make it. Now, the other thing that is really cool is that you can have a Lamborghini and a Datsun 1600 in your same relay team, because one's going to nominate a fast lap time and the other one's going to nominate a slow lap time, but the team can still win. And I guess that's what makes for the rivalry in this TSD category, is that sure, I mean, all the cars can go faster than 70 kilometres an hour, that goes without saying, but can you average 70 kilometres an hour? Not that easy.
Yes, correct, absolutely. And that's one of the things, as I was about to say, is, you know, you might think, oh, that doesn't sound very fun, tootling around at 70 kilometres an hour. That's very much not the case. It's very, very hard to do 70 kilometres an hour
in some of these roads.
On these stages. Exactly right. So it's not like it's an easy, achievable thing where you'll be tootling around doing, you know, 3/10 of what the car's capable of doing. You do actually have to push a reasonable amount to achieve the average speed that has been given on each of the stages. So yeah, there is a bit of a challenge to it. It's not just tootle around and post the time that they say. There's a lot more to it than that. But yeah, TSD back after a year away. So yeah, great to have the class back. And here is the first of those cars, and it was the man that we spoke to about the category just a few minutes ago, and that is the 503 machine of Graham Modra.
Porsche.
It is indeed a 1970 Porsche, making its way up the hill. It says on the entry list a Ford Escort, but yes, it is a Porsche, as you say.
Yeah, but it wasn't Modra. He's yet to come through. That's
you reckon
that's that pale blue Porsche that we really
like. Oh, sorry,
like.
Hamish Eaton. Yes.
That's the one.
Yes, sorry.
That's it.
I was getting my TSD interviews mixed up. We've heard from both of them.
That's right.
Today.
Yep.
So sorry, we heard from Hamish Eaton before, not Graham Modra. My apologies. So yes, that is correct. That was Hamish Eaton in his 1979 Porsche. So the entry list is still correct.
A very pretty car it is too.
Oh, absolutely. So you see the Merc make its way up. That's Colin Zitveld in his A45 AMG. A car that does very well in the Bathurst 6 Hour in its class, and it finds itself racing this car in the 6 Hour. Of course, 6 Hour Bathurst race, the production car race. That's a little bit slow coming out of there, so he's trying to bring his average speed down at this point by the looks of it. Went a bit hard early and he's trying to bring the average speed down. back to 70 kilometres an hour, and it looks like he's gained a bit of momentum again. Here is Graham Lodger, I believe, in the awesome Golf Racing livery. Turns it into the hairpin, accelerates out the corner using all the road, and pushing it all the way up the hill. Listen to that thing rev. Awesome.
Gotta love an escort, though.
Of course.
Now, look, this is a good case in point. Now, you just mentioned that the previous car was going not too quickly up the hill. That was the AMG, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, the thing is that the last part of this stage is the tightest part. So if you're going slowly here and you're running a bit late, you're going to have to try and go quicker through the tightest part. And that might not work. So it might be better to be quicker here and then just really save your breath for the last little bit.
You really have to think,
you've got to have a tactic, don't you?
It's not just a tactic, you've got to think ahead. You've got to think, well, at the end of this stage it's tight and technical. Can I get the average speed of 70 in that section? Do I need to go a bit faster than that early on to get the average speed up? And then when I go through the tight and twist section, I lose a bit of that average speed and hit the 70. It's a chess game at quite a few kilometres an hour.
Yeah, and people love it. As I said, they come back again and again for the same category because it is intense and it is very competitive. And it's a win in this is quite renowned by your peers.
Absolutely. Here is the Hyundai, the 508 machine of Anthony Daly. He's certainly pushing a lot harder than the last couple we've seen. Certainly around that hairpin. That looks well in excess of 70 kilometres an hour. He's going to have to bring the average down a bit later on in this stage, that's for sure. At the complete opposite end of the scale, this Beetle's driving very slowly at the start of the stage. So all different tactics that'll play out come the finish line in about 4.5 kilometres time.
Yeah.
So that's the Tracy Harris Volkswagen Beetle from way back in 1960. So how old does that make that machine? 63 years old.
63 years old.
Okay. And what number was Herbie? I believe 63, was it?
53.
Oh yes, you're right. George Russell's 63, Herbie's 53.
No relation.
No.
And here we've got the fabulous Holden Ute again. Bit of Aussie icon, Holden Ute. The car that we had once upon a time that we no longer have. So you can't buy a Holden Ute, you can't buy a Falcon Ute. You've got to buy a dual cab Ute probably. And chances are it was made in the same factory as all the other dual cab Utes. No matter what the brand.
Of course, the dual cab Ute series, the Super Ute series, has really grown in popularity this year after a couple of years where it really was struggling with category numbers. It's really grown this year, and the racing has improved greatly as well. Oh, that's a bit wide from the Peugeot 207 there of Joseph Vitiligo. So he's kept it on the road, which is good. But yeah, going back to it, the Super Ute series has really gone from strength to strength this year, and they will be at the Velo Adelaide 500 this time next weekend. Right. Hard to believe that is going to be. We'll be at the 500 in a week.
You'd be familiar with the regs on that. What's the power plants that they're allowed to run now?
So they did go to the V6 turbo, like diesel V6s, but they proved very unpopular with fans. So they've now got a V8 in them once again. So V8 Super Utes is the name of the category as a result. And yeah, it's going from strength to strength with many of the old V8 Ute drivers that drove those Holden Commodores and Ford Falcon Utes getting back behind the wheel because they're Utes with V8s again. And as a result, the racing is just fantastic. All season long they've put on a real show. So it's really good to see the Super Ute series go from strength to strength.
It's good to have it recover because it did languish for a while, didn't it?
It
just went off the boil and people didn't know what to do with it. Do they have a choice of V8s now, or is it all LS? Or?
All LS, correct. Yeah. We see the Peugeot go through there just a second ago. So that looks like would be done with the TSD class. We've seen pretty much all of the runners in the class. There might be one straggler, but I'm not convinced. So yeah, that may conclude proceedings today. We'll be on bright and early tomorrow morning with stage number 1 of the day at Hermitage. One of the iconic stages of the Adelaide Rally, isn't it? The Hermitage stage. What time's the live stream on there?
The first tour car is at 9:30.
So
I think our
live stream starts 5 minutes before that. So 9:25 local time in Adelaide, Hermitage, one of the iconic Adelaide stages, and really great shots always produced from there. So highly recommend you tune in tomorrow morning for that.
And then it will be a feast of handbrake turns, I can predict.
Yes, possibly the tightest corner in the whole of the Adelaide Rally is that hairpin where we will be located. A really iconic stretch of road. There it is, the sweep vehicle. So that does mean that the TSD class has concluded. So we hope you've enjoyed all 3 live stream stages from the Adelaide Rally. It's been a great pleasure to commentate the event today. But yes, we've got 2 live stages tomorrow. Hermitage in the morning, as you say, at 9:25, and then after that in the afternoon from about 3 o'clock local time, somewhere in there, will be the Wairoa stage from Stirling to that one. So make sure you tune in to the Adelaide Rally live stream. We will see you then.